Today I am here to discuss the introduction to methods used for determination of absolute configuration. So it is a stereochemistry topic. So what are the methods used for the determination of absolute configuration we are going to see, and I am going to give the introduction. So before going to the actual topic, we need to know the definition and types and what are the methods. Then we will see how to determine. So it is an just introduction lecture. So first is, what is configuration? So configuration is a three-dimensional arrangement of atoms or groups in a molecule with respect to each other is known as configuration. So if molecule exhibit isomerism and not rotatable through C-C bond, then it leads to configurational isomers. So as already we know what is isomer. So isomer, it is having same molecular formula. So if molecule is having same molecular formula and it is not rotatable by C-C bond. So if it is rotatable by C-C bond means then it is conformational isomer. So here if it is not rotatable by C-C bond, then it leads to formation of configurational isomers. So this configuration isomers again will have two different types of isomers. That is depending upon whether they have restricted rotation or not. If there is a restricted rotation, then we classify that configurational isomer as geometrical isomer. If they don't have any restriction, then they are called optical isomers. And this configurational isomer, geometrical, optical will come under the main heading stereo isomers. Then there are two systems have been developed to study the configuration of organic compound. That is absolute configuration and relative configuration. So these are the two systems which is developed to study the configuration of organic compounds in stereochemistry. So what is absolute configuration? Absolute configuration is nothing but it is a precise three-dimensional arrangement of atoms or groups around asymmetric carbon atom or chiral center. So absolute configuration means it is precise three-dimensional arrangement of atoms or groups around chiral center. So here given a figure that is regular tetrahedron. So from the regular tetrahedron, if all the substituents bonded to particular carbon, if they are different, then it is called chiral center. For that we are going to assign absolute configuration depending upon the orientation of the groups. So it is called absolute configuration. So if you come for relative configuration, in relative configuration there are two types, that is intramolecular and intermolecular relative configuration. So what is this intramolecular relative configuration? So this intramolecular configuration, it is applied within the molecule based on the relative position of two substituents, that is whether they are on same side or on the opposite side. So we are all aware of that relative configuration, that is cis trans, syn anti and erythro trio. So those are the relative intramolecular configuration we are assigning. It is on the basis of whether the substituents are on the same side or on the opposite side. So here is the relative configuration, that is cis and trans. So fumaric acid and malic acid are the best example for intramolecular relative configuration. So what is intermolecular configuration? So it is applied between the molecule based on relative position of the substituent around chiral center. So here there is no chiral center, but here there is a chiral center, and we are aware of this intermolecular relative configuration. That is, while assigning D and L configuration, we are going to compare the substituent OH, whether it is on the right side or left side. On the basis of that one, we are going to give the convention, that is D and L convention. So for that one, we have taken a standard, that is D glyceraldehyde and L glyceraldehyde. So depending upon the OH group, we are going to assign we are going to give the configuration. So that is D configuration or L configuration. So it is an intermolecular configuration, means it is between the molecules. R and S configuration is also comes under relative configuration, even though it is an absolute configuration, because R and S, they are enantiomer. So if there is S enantiomer, obviously there should be R enantiomer, or if there is R enantiomer, obviously there is a comparison in relative to. So that is called intermolecular relative configuration. So we know that two systems are available for assigning configuration, that is absolute and relative. So in that relative, we have intramolecular and intermolecular. So why we are discussing here is because we'll see next. If the relative configuration molecule, if they are achiral, then relative configuration is sufficient to describe them uniquely. So I can easily distinguish the malic acid and fumaric acid by only looking at the relative configuration, because there is no problem of chirality. Suppose if they are chiral and they have two chiral center along with relative configuration, then absolute configuration is necessary to describe them uniquely. So here I take an example of 1,2-dimethyl cyclohexane. It is having two chiral center, and we know the formula to calculate number of isomers possible for this molecule. So since it is having two chiral centers, so 2 power 2, it is going to give 4 isomers. So 4 isomers are shown here, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the 4 isomers. So here this molecule is very good example for molecule which is having chiral center, and at the same time it is having relative configuration as well as absolute configuration. So in such case, relative configuration is not sufficient. We need to go for the absolute configuration assignment. Okay, so here the two methyl group are on the same side, means above. Here the two methyl groups are below. So these two are called cis, means they are on the same side. So there is two other isomers where the methyl groups are opposite to each other and it is having trans. So this is relative configuration. Now this relative configuration is not sufficient to decide this molecule. We need to know the absolute configuration, because at the beginning of stereochemistry we have discussed that different isomers will react, or it is going to act as a different, means one isomer may be drug like, another isomer may be toxic. So one of the disaster, that is thalidomide disaster, because of one isomer it is going to act as a drug, whereas another it is going to affect, or it is going to act as a toxic. So for that thing, absolute configuration is very important. So we cannot decide on the relative configuration. Now we need to assign the absolute configuration. So if it is simple single chiral center, then R&S system is sufficient so that we can measure optical rotation, then we can decide. But if it is having multiple center of chirality, then there should be some method for assigning absolute configuration. So for that thing, we need to study what are the methods available. So hence, for a molecule with multiple chiral center, configuration is determined in two stages. So first stage is determine the relative configuration. So we have determined the relative configuration for this molecule which is having two chiral center, that is it is having relative configuration cis and trans. In the next stage is assign absolute configuration at particular chiral center by suitable method. So here I have already given the absolute configuration. So at first carbon it is having S configuration, at second carbon it is having R configuration, whereas the same cis isomer is having at first carbon atom R configuration and second S configuration. How to assign this Whether it is very simple? No, it is not simple. So for that one, there are three methods available at present for determination of absolute configuration. That is, methods based on optical rotation, circular dichroism, and optical rotatory dispersion. And there is second method, that is method based on anomalous X-ray scattering. And third method is method based on crystals used as a probes. So these are the three methods available at present for the determination of absolute configuration. So these are already we have studied in the lower classes, that is optical rotation, what is circular dichroism, optical rotatory dispersion. So this is somewhat new method, that is anomalous X-ray scattering, and this method based on the crystals used as a probe, it is just modification. So in this lecture I'm going to give a brief introduction of what is optical rotation, what is circular dichroism, and what is optical rotatory dispersion, and what is anomalous X-ray scattering. Once you know these methods, then it is very easy for assigning absolute configuration. How it is easy for assigning configuration is through correlation. So once the configuration of few molecules are determined by any of the above methods, many other molecule configuration may be known by correlation. So these are the three methods which are available. So if we know the configuration, then it is very easy for assigning the configuration of other molecules by correlation. So for correlation, generally two groups of methods are known, that is chiroptical method, non-chiroptical method. So in chiroptical method, correlative method, where spectroscopic measurements of chiroptical properties such as optical rotation, circular dichroism, or optical rotatory dispersion are used as an tool for elucidation of configuration of chiral compound. So these are the methods. So from this method, now there are two correlation methods, that is chiroptical method and non-chiroptical method. In chiroptical method, what we are going to do is we are going to compare the spectroscopic measurements of chiroptical properties like optical rotation, circular dichroism, or optical rotatory dispersion are compared or correlated to get configuration of new chiral compound. So in non-chiroptical method, what we are going to do is we are going to assign the configuration by chemical transformation. So it is completely spectroscopic technique. So that is, it is called chiroptical method, whereas this is non-chiroptical method. Here now we are not going to use any spectroscopic measurement. It is completely on the basis of chemical transformation. We are going to carry out some reaction. So on the basis of that one, we are going to assign the absolute configuration. So next is, so we have different types of light, especially polarized light. So we know that there are three types of polarized light, that is linear, circular, and elliptic. So in linear, the propagation of light will be in one plane. So whereas if you come for the circular, it is in two direction. Means it is going to propagate in this direction as well as it is going to propagate perpendicular to that previous propagation. So whereas in elliptical, there will be similarity with circular polarized light, but the amplitude will be different. So here you can see the amplitude along this axis is more compared to this one, whereas in the circular, the amplitude of both are same. So these are the types of polarized light, and there is one more, that is unpolarized light. Okay, and this linear, it is a plane polarized light, or it is also called linearly polarized light. So if you come for optical rotation, so what is this optical rotation? It is when passing linearly polarized light of a given wavelength through a chiral sample, the phenomena of optical rotation, that is rotation of plane polarized light, can be observed. So suppose this is the light source. So this light source is going to give unpolarized light. So whenever this unpolarized light is passed through a polarizer, it is going to form linearly polarized light. So that is, it is going to propagate in one direction. So whenever this linearly polarized light is passed through an sample, if it is chiral, then it is going to show rotation of plane polarized light. That is, two enantiomers generate rotation of equal magnitude but of opposite sign and therefore can be easily distinguished. This is already a very well known topic. That is how we are going to measure optical rotation. So if it is going to rotate left, it is called levorotatory. If the plane polarized light is rotated towards the right, it is dextrorotatory. So specific rotation of compound is calculated using this formula. So that is, specific rotation is equal to angle of rotation divided by concentration into length. So this is specific rotation at particular temperature using D line. So that is 589 nanometer. Alpha is the measured angle of rotation of plane polarized light, whether it is rotating right side or left side, that angle. And L is the length of tube. It is going to be in the units of decimeter, and concentration will be expressed in gram per ml. So if it is negative, it is counterclockwise or it is called levorotatory. If the plane polarized light rotates towards right, it is clockwise and it is dextrorotatory. So next is optical rotatory dispersion. So before going to that optical rotatory dispersion, so how we can assign the configuration of chiral compound based on optical rotation is by using empirical rules. So whatever the optical rotation you are going to get, so that one will be applied for the elucidation of configuration of unknown chiral compound. So those empirical rules are distance rule, rule of shift, rule of optical superposition, Mills rule. So by applying these empirical rules, so we are going to correlate or we are going to assign the configuration for a new chiral compound. Okay, so these things I will discuss in the next lecture. So next is optical rotatory dispersion. It is also abbreviated as ORD. So what is this optical rotatory dispersion is change of specific rotation or molar rotation with range of wavelength of light is nothing but optical rotatory dispersion. So it is very similar to optical rotation. In which case it is different is, in optical rotation we are going to measure the optical rotation at fixed wavelength, that is 589 nanometer. But in the case of optical rotatory dispersion, we are going to measure the specific rotation in different wavelength. So we are going to measure the specific rotation with by varying the wavelength. So that is the main difference. Everything is similar. Only difference is, in optical rotation you are going to measure at particular wavelength, whereas in optical rotatory dispersion you are going to measure at different wavelength. So that is in the UV visible region. So we will see what is this optical rotation dispersion and how we are going to get the spectra of our word. So according to Fresnel, linearly polarized light mathematically and graphically represented as superimposition of light left and right beams of circularly polarized light which are enantiomeric to each other. Means it is linearly polarized light only, but it is having left and right beam of circularly polarized light which are enantiomeric to each other. So this is left circularly polarized light, this is right circularly polarized light, but they are going to sum up and it is going to form linearly polarized light. So what happens if it is placed in inactive medium is, in optically inactive medium the two light component migrate at same velocity, so the resulting light exhibit properties of linearly polarized light. and does not change its orientation, that is no rotation occurs. So this is left circularly polarized light and this is right circularly polarized light. If the medium is optically inactive, then these two component will form a resultant component, so that is called linearly polarized light. So this is what we are going to get in optical rotatory dispersion. So it is also linearly polarized light, but we are going to consider it as a combination of these two, and these two are enantiomeric and this is the resultant. So what happens if it is placed in the chiral sample? So both components of left circular polarized light and right circularly polarized light are slowed down relative to prior velocities. So whatever we have seen in this, they are traveling at same speed. So if it is placed in chiral sample, then their relative velocities will be different. Consequently, resulting linearly polarized light appears rotated relative to incident beam by certain angle. So one of the circularly polarized light velocity will be different from the other. So whatever the resultant, if there is no chiral sample, this is resultant and it is going to form linear. So here also it is going to form linear only, but now one of the circularly polarized light is slowed down. Its velocity is slowed down, so it will tilt. So whatever the tilt or orientation from this linearity, that measure will be called as optical rotation. So that is the main concept involved in the optical rotatory dispersion. And if you come for optical rotatory dispersion, there are two types of optical rotatory dispersion spectra. So that is normal plane curves, which are characterized by monotonic increase of specific rotation while wavelength is decreased. Means, so this is the normal plane ORD spectrum. So specific rotation, so there will be increase in the specific rotation with decrease in wavelength. So this is positive plane ORD curve and this is negative plane ORD curve. And this plane ORD curve are normally obtained if no selective absorption by the sample. Examples are hydrocarbons and alcohol. So if there is no absorption, you are going to get normal ORD curve. And there is one more ORD spectra, that is anomalous spectra, which is characterized by monotonic decrease of specific rotation with increasing wavelength. So what is that anomalous is, if you come for anomalous behavior, one more concept will be studied. So that is Cartan effect. So why this anomalous behavior will be observed is because of molecule is going to possess chiral carbon along with chromophore that has a lambda maximum in UV visible region. So this anomalous ORD is also described as Cartan effect curve. So this is the anomalous ORD spectrum. So that is due to presence of chiral carbon with chromophore. So what that chromophore, in organic chemistry we know chromophore, it is going to absorb a particular wavelength of light, that is you are going to study in UV visible spectroscopy. Means a particular chromophore, it is going to absorb particular wavelength of light, so it is going to have certain lambda max. So if such kind of chromophore is present along with the chiral carbon, then we are not going to get this normal plane ORD spectra. So this normal plane ORD spectra is obtained where there is no selective absorption, means there is no such kind of chromophore is present. If there is a chromophore, then that chromophore is going to influence and it is going to form anomalous behavior. So that anomalous behavior can be observed if there is a chiral carbon along with the chromophore, and that effect is called Cartan effect. So in Cartan effect, we have positive Cartan effect curve and negative Cartan effect curve. So what is the positive Cartan effect curve is, curve, the rotation magnitude first increases with decrease in wavelength, whereas in negative Cartan effect, the rotation magnitude first decreases with increase in wavelength. So rotation magnitude first it decreases and increases. So this is in y-axis we are going to take rotation, and along x-axis we are going to take wavelength. So in positive Cartan effect curve, we are going to get first there is increase in the magnitude of rotation followed by decrease. So this is called peak and this is trough. So first in positive you are going to get peak followed by trough, whereas in the negative first you are going to get trough followed by peak. So this is Cartan effect curve, which is the anomalous behavior of ORD. So based on this one we are going to assign. So positive Cartan effect curve, so it is given the absolute configuration or it is levorotatory, whereas negative Cartan effect curve it is dextro-rotatory. So this is overall complete ORD curve with plain positive curve, plain negative curve, along with negative and positive Cartan effect curve. So this is the anomalous ORD curve. So positive, first rotation increases, then it decreases. So first peak followed by trough, whereas negative first trough, then it is going to be peak. So this is the anomalous ORD curve, and you can see this lambda max will coincide with ORD curve. So this is how this absorption is going to affect the ORD curve. So before it is plain, so whenever there is a chromophore and in the vicinity of chiral center, then it is going to show anomalous behavior, that is called Cartan effect. Next is circular dichroism. So what is this circular dichroism? Circular dichroism is differential absorption of left and right circularly polarized light and is most frequently applied for assignment of absolute stereo structure. So whatever ORD we have discussed, it is relative velocity. Okay, so there will be change in relative velocity of the left and right circularly polarized light. So here in circular dichroism, there will be differential absorption along with difference in velocity. In this case, velocity also varies. At the same time, the absorption is also be different. So when linearly polarized light passes an optically active medium in spectral region where absorption takes place, left and right circularly polarized rays do not only propagate with different velocities, but they are also absorbed by chiral sample to a different extent. That is, absorption of left circularly polarized light is not equal to absorption of right circularly polarized light. So due to this difference in the absorption, so we are going to get elliptically polarized light. Means in one of the direction, the amplitude of propagation will be more compared to the other direction. So these are the two circularly polarized light, that is left circularly polarized light and right circularly polarized light. So whenever this is passed to an optically active medium, so one of the light maybe get absorbed and its velocity is also decreased. So here in this case, right circularly polarized light has been absorbed and its velocity has been different. So there is difference in the absorption of left circularly polarized light to the right circularly polarized light. So due to this difference in the absorption, what happens to this is, now this, whatever the rays coming out of this optical medium, now it is going to form elliptically polarized light. So depending upon this ellipticity, we are going to get circular dichroism spectrum. So if so, this is how we are going to use circular dichroism. So first we are going to take the difference in the absorption. So absorption of left circularly polarized light minus absorption of right circularly polarized light. So we know that absorption is equal to epsilon CL. So if I substitute this epsilon CL in this equation, I'm going to get this difference between molar extension coefficient of left and right circularly polarized light. So I'm going to plot this molar extension coefficient difference, and I'm going to get circular dichroism spectrum. The measurement of difference in molar extension coefficient of right and left circularly polarized light versus function of wavelength leads to circular dichroism spectrum. And here you can see the maximum of circular dichroism curve coincides with the wavelength of anomalous ORD crossover. So this is the ORD crossover, and you can see this maximum of CD spectra, it is just coincide with this crossover of anomalous ORD spectrum, and the sign of Cartan effect in the ORD spectrum corresponds to that of CD. So here it is a positive Cartan effect. So hence the circular dichroism spectra will be called positive. Means the sign of Cartan effect in the ORD spectrum corresponds to the that of circular dichroism. Means positive Cartan effect means first there is peak followed by trough. So hence I'm going to get positive circular dichroism. At the same time, if we are getting negative, here it is negative Cartan effect will be observed. So that is trough followed by peak, and the sign given for this circular dichroism is negative. So there is a relation between ORD and CD. So positive, if it is having positive Cartan effect, then if we record circular dichroism, then if we are getting peak in the positive direction, then it is going to be called as positive circular dichroism. Whereas if it is curve is obtained in the negative Cartan effect side, then it is going to have the sign of negative. So by using this ORD and CD spectrum and by applying certain empirical rules, we can assign the absolute configuration for a chiral compounds. That is, by using alpha axial haloketone rule or quadrant rule are the empirical rules which is applied for the ORD and CD spectrum for determining the configuration. Also, from ORD and CD spectra, elucidation of absolute configuration is done by comparison of configuration of known compound with closely related compound. And this has been studied in the first semester, how ORD and CD spectra are used for assigning absolute configuration of coordination complexes. So here in this case, we are going to use empirical rules. So by applying this empirical rule, so we are going to assign absolute configuration. So this is regarding methods based on optical rotation, optical rotatory dispersion, and circular dichroism. So just I have given the introduction. means what is that optical rotation, what are the things we need to know, what is optical rotatory dispersion and circular dichroism. So in the next lecture we will see how these empirical rules are used for assigning the absolute configuration. So next method is anomalous X-ray scattering. So in this case, how we are going to assign the absolute configuration is, so first we will see what is this anomalous scattering. So when incident X-rays of moderately high energy are either scattered normally by an atom or absorbed or re-emitted at slightly different phase and intensity. This effect is called anomalous scattering. So what is this is, when we apply X-ray of moderately high energy to a particular molecule, then that X-ray either it may be scattered normally by the atom present in the molecule, or some atom may absorb the X-ray radiation and again it is going to re-emit. So while doing that re-emission, there is different in the phase. So whatever the wavelength we have applied, now it is somewhat different because of absorption then followed by re-emission. So there will be different in the phase as well as intensity. So due to this difference in the phase and intensity, it is going to be called as anomalous scattering. Okay, so once again I will repeat, whenever you are going to apply X-ray for a particular material, so if that atom is not going to absorb, it will be get scattered. Suppose if the atom absorbs, then it re-emits, means then there will be difference in the phase and intensity. That effect is called anomalous scattering. So only a particular atom will do that. Okay, so based on this concept, we are going to assign the absolute configuration. So how we will see now. So when a parallel beam of X-rays strikes, scattering takes place at A and B. So this is an imaginary molecule A and B has been taken. So to this molecule, a parallel beam of X-rays has been passed. So it is going to strike these two atoms A and B, and two sets of differentiated wave fronts starting exactly with same phase causes interference pattern at photographic plate P and P dash. So whatever these two atoms, they are enantiomers. Okay, so I have taken enantiomers. Whenever there is parallel beam of X-ray strikes this one, and two sets of differentiated waves from A and B will travel with same phase, and it is going to form an pattern, interference pattern in the photographic plate. Since phase difference of the two interfering waves depends solely on the distance traveled by them from both ends, the interference patterns are identical for enantiomer. If this molecule is enantiomers to each other, then whatever the interference pattern it is going to form, they are identical, and it is depend solely on the distance traveled by them. So if they have identical interference pattern, then they are called enantiomer. If they don't have the same identical pattern of interference, then they are not called as enantiomer. So this is the basic principle involved in this anomalous X-ray scattering for identifying or for elucidating the absolute configuration. Suppose if one of the nuclei, say B, is heavy atom and absorbs partially at frequency of X-ray used, that is secondary wave front scattered from B undergoes a phase lag, the two ends of the molecule A and B can now be differentiated by X-ray as regards their absolute position in space. So what is this is, if I take one of the nuclei heavy atom, so then this heavy atom is going to absorb partially whatever the X-ray we are going to strike. Then whatever the wave it is coming out from this B, now the phase will be somewhat it is lagged compared to A. So now it is differentiated, means previously both are traveling at same phase. Now whenever the B atom is replaced by heavy atom, there will be partial absorption of X-ray. So due to partial absorption, whatever the wave coming out of this atom, now it is going to be lagged. So due to this lagging, it can differentiate. So whatever the photographic plate, now the pattern will be differentiated. So that is what we are going to see in this diagram. So the diffracted rays from B has not only traveled a longer distance to reach P dash but has already suffered a phase lag, so that difference in phase with respect to the rays from A is noticeable. So B, now it has absorbed, and after absorbing the phase has been lagged. So the wave cannot travel at the same phase as that of A. And at the same time, this B atom, it has to travel a longer distance to reach this photographic plate compared to A. A, this distance is smaller, so it is going to reach photographic plate at the earliest. But whereas B, if it is same as that of A means, then it could have traveled at same phase and it could have made interference on the photographic plate at same phase. But now this is heavy, and at the same time it has to travel longer distance, so both lag as well as the longer distance distinguishable from A atom. So this is the case where X-ray or X-ray is going to differentiate it between A atom and B atom. So on contrary, if scattered rays from A is in the diagram, so if I take the other enantiomer in this diagram, A have to travel longer distance than the rays from B to reach the photographic plate. But because of initial lag at B, the ultimate phase difference when both scattered wavefront reach the photographic plate decreases to that extent. Here in this diagram, A has to now it has to travel longer distance. Okay, but the difference will be observed because B, even though it is going to travel shorter distance, but due to initial lag because of absorption of X-ray, it is going to feel the initial lag. So due to this initial lag, so even though there is a longer distance for A to travel to make interference on photographic plate, so the difference will be easily be observed. So based on this, we are going to determine the absolute configuration. So suppose if the phase lag is expressed in terms of reduced velocities, the dotted line represents the new path and the two interference pattern at circled P and P dash are the now substantially different. The enantiomer are thus differentiated and analysis of two interference pattern will give their absolute configuration. So whatever this dotted line in the diagram indicates, this is the phase lag has been expressed in terms of reduced velocities. So from this reduced velocities, enantiomers are differentiated and analysis of this interference pattern. So P dash. So will give their absolute configuration. So if the molecule is going to give interference pattern of P, then it is going to be called or given absolute configuration RRS. If it is going to give interference pattern of P dash, then it is enantiomeric. So based on the difference in the patterns, interference pattern, we are going to assign the absolute configuration. So anomalous X-ray scattering, it is on the basis of difference in the interference pattern. Here we are going to use the interference patterns as a key for identification of enantiomer. So here this is the interference pattern. So if a new molecule or new chiral molecule, if it is having interference pattern related to this means, then it will be given particular configuration. So suppose if the new molecule is giving interference pattern of P dash, then based on this one we are going to assign the absolute configuration. But this anomalous X-ray scattering is having some disadvantage. That is, for reliable determination of absolute configuration, it requires good quality crystals. Means if you want to use this X-ray method for assigning absolute configuration, then for that one it requires good quality crystals. And as we know, all compounds will not be crystal in nature, so that is one disadvantage. At the same time, the compound should contain at least one heavy atom, heavier than sodium, for observing an appreciable amount of anomalous scattering. So the molecule should contain one heavy atom which is heavier than sodium, so that we can see appreciable amount of anomalous scattering. If this heavy atom is not present, then we won't get anomalous scattering. So that is the disadvantage of this anomalous X-ray scattering. So with this introduction, in the next lecture I am going to discuss the empirical rules, how this method of optical rotation, optical rotatory dispersion, circular dichroism and anomalous X-ray scattering are used for the determination of absolute configuration. So there are different empirical rules based on the particular method. So we will discuss one by one in the next video lecture. Thank you.